Hey, I'm Decathlon Gamer. Welcome back to Football Manager 2020 in our Zero to Hero Youth Factory FC series. It's episode number 19. 12 games left to go in the season, 11-point lead. As tough as this season has been to previous ones, we have emerged on top, consistent. We were able to hang on to our players in January, and it's been enough. So we should be seeing promotion again. We should be seeing our way into the normalcy that is FM, with the 6 divisions down in the English pyramid. But we have a couple things to do before we wrap this season up. First off, it's youth intake time. I have not looked at it yet. But secondly, we need to not only look at the current youth intake and get the lay of the land and start moving those players around like we have done in recent seasons, but it's also time to start looking at the future. Meaning, what can I control to make that youth intake even better? And there are things that are in my control, and there are things that are going to impact that, and things that will improve the quality of the players coming in, and we're going to start taking those steps. So this will be the kind of the last season that we just let that be. Now, of course, we have some good factors that help us, right? There are some definite things that help us out. Look at club details, right? The club reputation, well, it's gone from a 1 up to almost 1,300. That's a factor because the club reputation is a piece, but our reputation is a long ways off from the other clubs that are at the same tier that we are. In fact, we're not even remotely close. So club reputation for now has virtually no say. Right? These facility levels are having a much greater impact for us currently, but there are other factors that we're going to need to take into account. Now, the junior coaching is good. We have well-paid staff that works with the kids coming through our youth teams. The youth facilities, the training facilities, that's helping the senior team. The youth recruitment, we're getting the best players out of our region. So that is the biggest factor that has been giving us this steady influx of good players. But there are other things that go into it. We'll start breaking that down in a little bit, but I'm sure you're all anxious to see, as am I, what have we acquired from this year's youth intake. Not expecting much. It's been quite a few seasons with kind of generally 1 or 2 quality players, and then that's been about it. We haven't had 3 in one intake since the first season. It's the last time we had 3 quality players in the youth intake, and that's why I'd really like to start getting a little more involved and see if we can get a little more of a boost. So maybe we can start getting a few players every season, 3 or 4. It's going to be a long time. We're going to have to be up to maybe the championship before we start consistently seeing additional players beyond a few quality. And even then, we still haven't seen any wonder kids coming through. Maybe we get one of those finally. Probably not. Those all go to the higher reputation clubs and higher reputation managers before they go to us. Anyway, here we go. Let's break it down. Youth Factory FC announced new intake of youth players. Here it is. Our annual youth candidate intake has arrived for assessment. While it remains very early in their respective careers, these players, led by the very gifted Ryan Douglas, have a real chance of developing into a golden generation for the club. I like to think I've had a notable influence, and this is Michael West, our assistant coach. He's been handling the role recently. That would be handled by our head of youth development. That's a position we're going to finally fill here really soon. But this is that new manager that we just brought in this last summer. This guy has been a bit of a boost. You can see that he's got the determination. He's got the discipline. He's got the motivating at high levels. He's got the judging player ability and potential at pretty good levels, especially for the level we're at. He's got the working with youngsters. So he actually is having a real impact by playing that role right now. Personality is balanced. Okay, that could be better. That could be better. But balanced is certainly not bad. He's going to have an impact on a couple of these guys coming in balanced, but at least they won't come in with, say, low determination. He knows the region. The region matters. And tactical style, it is a gegenpress guy. So, not exactly the same formation that we have, but he is set to give us a real boost in the direction we want it to go. The one area that's hurting him is he has a minimal reputation, which is still going to be a hard thing for a club our size in our tier to get much more than we've managed to get so far with Michael West. But we will look to see if we can improve upon this with the head of youth development going forward. That's the big thing besides this youth intake. I think I have a notable influence in bringing through Rob Cottam. My mental coaching style is reflected in some of their playing attributes. He's shaped the mentality of players such as Nigel Madden, Lewis Allen, his own influence and experience. Youth candidates have been given trial contexts. Friendly match has been arranged. All right, top prospect is Ryan Douglas, 16-year-old defensive midfielder. It's a big boost for us. That is a big boost for us. That's a good thing going forward. We have Jake Stevenson with high potential, a winger. That's good. Or striker. He's already got 1 star. Lewis Allen's already at 1.5 stars. Madden, these guys definitely have some potential. Couple guys kind of out of position here. Jack Richards, it looks like we'll have to train him to be a central midfielder a bit more. Here's some quality already coming up, guys that are decent in their ability in Daly, Smolka. There's Ryan Douglas, who's supposed to be the best player coming in. He might be the best player currently, but it doesn't look like he quite has the potential of some of the others. Murphy's got decent potential. Cottam, goalkeeper. Okay, that's the one that was influenced. And then we really only have a few guys at the bottom end that look like they're not going to be that great. Potential-wise, though, looks a little bit worrying. Really, it looks like only Stevenson, maybe Madden, are going to have the potential of their peers, of the guys in the first team right now. It looks like we have some current ability. Jordan Daly at 66. I mean, he's already up there, almost good enough to play with the senior team and could be of use. He's at a couple of positions that aren't exactly our strongest. Douglas supposedly is the best one, and you can see how that is just about right. He's almost there on current ability to contribute at a senior level, and he's got plenty of potential ability to improve a lot, though I would say that Daly does seem to be a bit better in almost both respects. Lewis Allen, the current ability is there, the potential is not. But in that potential ability, right, there's a significant gap between some of these players. I mean, you've got Stevenson, Douglas, Smolka, Daly, Madden, and Cottam. who all have good ability, potential ability. That's 6 players. A 7th in Jack Richards is tolerable. After that, that's a serious drop-off. I mean, none of these guys are above an 80, and most of them will probably not get selected, especially these guys down here. I'd say from about McKinley down, those 5 are almost certain to be unselected, especially when we're looking at personality-wise, right? We have low determination. We have 6 guys that are unambitious. Cottam, the only one who we worry about on that. He'll need to get some personality fix going on. But the other guys are low potential and unambitious. So yeah, I can see where they're going. We do have a couple balanced guys, Madden and Allen. That was our assistant manager. But these guys look pretty good in that regard. Lindsay, if he had better potential, him being driven would be a nice thing. But it does at least look good that all but one of our better potential players, all but one of them, have good personality traits anyway. Candidates taking on the U18s. We'll quickly watch this match. As for color schemes, the regular under 18s are in the purple today. Candidates in the green and black. Oh, nice ball. It was a great pass by Alan Hutton over the top, and Reed gets there. That's the under 18s. Beats out his man. Might have had a little push there, but not enough for a foul. Defender went back to try to get ahead to that. Then all of a sudden, Reed just pushed past him. Wow, that was a nice one too. Finlay Stevenson sets up Dawson. Great header right in the bottom corner. It's a really difficult save. Another free kick for Stevenson. This one's cleared out. Hogan on the counter the other way, and Reed makes an excellent tackle there. Kelly's ball over the top is intercepted, and here is Reed to Reed. Les Reed to Lee Reed on the goal. So Les Reed from the midfield knocks the ball over the top, and Lee Reed with another one. The under 18s just dominating the candidates at this point in time. 5-0 on shots, 3-0 on the scoreboard. Now they're overwhelmed. Oh, that's the under 18s that are overwhelmed. Apparently the U18s coach is giving them hell at the moment. Ramage yanked down, but he gets up and recovers, gets passed off to a teammate. Stevenson, Curry. Nice ball ahead. Oh, that was a nice goal. That was a pretty goal. It's 4-0. Current U18s looking much stronger than the new players coming up as a whole anyway. Again, there's a few bright points in the candidates, but they're definitely not going to come in and completely take over. You know, in recent seasons when we've sat through this game, the candidates were either stronger or at least on par with the current team. But now, it's not the case at all. The candidates are going to have a few and make their way into the side. That's going to be it. I mean, this is an absolutely dominant performance, which, by the way, our U18s are in a place they've never been before. Oh, what's wrong with that? It looked like a good, solid tackle to me. I didn't see anything wrong there. Anyway, it was just a couple seasons ago that our U18s had their first points in the league. I think they had one win. They had 3 points the whole season. Last year, they improved upon that ever so slightly, where they had maybe 7 points on the season. I think they had like 2 wins and a draw. And a lot of their games were, 1-goal losses. So they were improving. This season, our U18s, mid-table. So our U18 squad has hit that point where they are competitive at a mid-table level. Nice turn there. Not a good shot, though. Threw a ball and hope somebody gets onto the end of it. Something. But, yeah, blasting that one out of bounds was completely useless. Consolation goal? Yes, it is. Brian Russell from Frank Grice. Grice, the header into Russell after the free kick. That's a nice little play there. The shot after 0 in the first half. It's up to 3 now. Candidates are definitely finding themselves a little bit here in the second half. I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that the candidates are a little more closely aligned with one another, because both... Actually, no, the under-18s have only made 1 sub so far. It's good to say, I saw 4 substitutions on the candidates side. Now it's a few on the under-18s. There isn't the depth in the under-18s right now. It's a nice tackle, but unfortunately just pushed it right down the line, and nobody was able to get to that. Ramage taking the corner. Curry, Dawson, Flaherty. Anyway, so they have improved significantly. Now a mid-table team in the U18s. And of course now we're just starting to see the U23s have that same impact as they get stronger and better with each intake. They've had 1 win this season, but then they have that little cup tournament, and they've done fairly well there. They've had a few wins there. So overall, in all competitions, they've had about 4 wins this season. The under-23s have. They were getting blown out 4, 5, 7, 8 goals in every game they played. They're a lot closer now. They're still losing for the most part, but they're a lot closer than they were. And that's that start point, right? You're going to steal a win or 2 here and there, but getting competitive is the main thing. That's got to happen first. And they are starting to get competitive. So we're seeing that growth, especially in the U18s. We're starting to see that growth in the under-23s. And for the senior team, of course, we continue to charge forward, losing a few of our star players from time to time, certainly not helping us. But as we go up through the divisions, as we build the reputation, there's going to be less and less and less of a reason for the owner to step back and go, oh, you have money? You're offering money to us? Oh, I like that. Right? He's going to start seeing the profits within the club and not be tempted to sell our best players. Overall, the candidates got their butts handed to them. Second half was much better than the first half. Part of that could have been the goal differential and just tactics involved from that. Either way, though, we won that last match, so we're up 11 points with 11 to go in the season. So senior squad should be cruising towards victory. Evaluating the players, there's the top 5. We're definitely going to keep them. But I'm going to go in and start setting up all these contracts and going through that, establishing these guys, and of course then doing what it is that I do each season of late, balancing the squad, which players are worthy of coming in and who they're replacing. Who are we going to release with, 6, 8 new players into the squad? What 4, 5, 6 players do we let go? I can tell you the 3 most likely candidates are our original 3 that remain. Curry, Williamson, and White. Weakest guys around. 2 of the 3 are already past the under-23's age. Anyway, they haven't been playing at all. Breaking down the roster, going through the youth candidates, a lot of them are being let go, not just a couple. We've already signed that first half dozen players. I have bids in on just a couple more right now. And then looking at it, Dave Hunter just doesn't have the quality. Paul Lindsay, these guys are all about to be released. They've already been set for release as I move forward today. Most of them will be removed. There might be a couple that I've missed. Lewis Allen, I'm going to hang on to for depth. He's 58 now of 69, so he's not going to improve much, but he'll at least give me a little more depth into the squad. Same with Lee Ness at center back. Not great now, but he's got some potential. He'll develop a bit. And then these are kind of the last 2 that I was looking at, and I want to call him Willie Dog. It just makes more sense to call him Willie Dog to me, even though that's clearly not how it's pronounced. But he's unambitious, and even though he's a 75 potential, which isn't terrible, not good, but not terrible, he's only a right midfielder, and he's got just a tiny bit of right wing ability. I don't need him, so I'm letting him go. However, this one, Luke O'Regan, I think this is going to be the last guy we sign. He is unambitious. He's a 35 of 78, but he is already better than Curry and White, the last 2 guys from the senior squad, the original senior squad. And as he can play both center back and midfield, he'll be a temporary fill-in for those guys. So I will go ahead and sign O'Regan to a youth contract as a stopgap to get rid of those 2 guys. So that'll give me about 8 in all. So roughly half of the group, or just over half of the group, are signed. So this is the smallest number of intake players that I'll have signed. I mean, it was just 2 seasons ago that I let 1 or 2 guys go, and then last season we let maybe 4 of them go, so we're more and more to that point where we are definitely filling out the squad and actually being able to pick and choose. So as I move forward, we'll get an update on those guys, and if there was anyone that I missed as I made my way through the roster. Goalkeeping wise, we were also able to let go of Williamson. I have 5 goalkeepers now with Williamson gone. You'd like ideally 2 at every level, but senior level we really only have 1 anyway because Ball is so much better than the others. Erdogan and Gallagher are developing, so I've got Gallagher as the U23s. I've got Erdogan as the under-18s. The new keeper who just came in will join Erdogan as the under-18s. And then we have one guy who's never going to be good enough, who's now been moved from the under-18s back up to the under-23s backup. And then Williamson gone. So, again, the original players are now off the team as we move forward into this next day. At this point, outside of not accepting half the youth candidates, the only changes to the roster beyond that are the elimination of those 3 players. So let's see, we've got bid. Those guys should be signed shortly, and yes, that is it. Let's get into that coaching team real quick. So assistant coach Michael West, kind of start here with him. We did look at him at the beginning of the episode, but that's been a little while since I recorded that, so kind of going back and refreshing my own memory. He's kind of 13-14 across the board in a lot of areas. The working with youngsters is good, but he's got a low reputation and his personality is not bad at balanced, but it could be better. He is gegenpress, but the preferred formation is bringing in some of the wrong players compared to What I have for a squad, everything else, pretty dang good. So head of youth development is going to have to kind of start at about 14s. And then the three areas that we might look to have something better than what we have now is personality, the preferred formation, and then especially his reputation to see if he can bring in some better players for next year. So let's have a look in good and bad. Good and bad. Can I search... Wow, see, these are the only ones that have decent. Yeah, see, we're just not in a position yet to hire a good reputation kind of guy. But I think the reputation at this point isn't having that major of an impact on us because we're losing out to all the Premier League sides that have similar facilities to us. The club reputation, manager reputation is just nowhere near what they have. The national youth rating is good. I have no head of youth development, so we're using the assistant manager, but he's got some decent things going on. And then we have that good youth recruiting and junior coaching that matters so much. But, again, we're based on the tier. And the tier puts us up there in the top tier. We're just essentially listed last on that top tier. So at this point, the assistant manager and head of youth development are the only ones really affecting things that's in my control that I could do something about. The assistant manager is actually pulling his weight pretty well in a lot of ways. He just doesn't quite have the reputation, doesn't play the right formation. Outside of that, he's pretty solid. And at this point, none of the head of youth development guys give me what I need otherwise. Like this Dave Creven guy, he is slightly worse than our assistant manager in his attributes. But he's professional, so the personality is good. He's Scotland and England, so that's huge for us because that's where our guys are coming from. And he's got okay reputation. I mean, he's up there. He's decent on his reputation. So he'd give us a boost in the personality, the reputation, adding in Scotland to the mix because we definitely bring in a lot of Scottish players as we're on the border. But then we're back to a real issue here. He's going to bring in the wrong players. He's going to bring in a lot of left and right midfielders. He's not going to bring in any of our trio. He's not going to bring in the wingers or the attacking mids at all. Though his second preferred formation, a 4-5-1, but what kind of standard 4-5-1 is he running? I mean, is it literally 5 across, as in 3 center mids? Or is there a defensive mid in that? Or is it an attacking mid? I'm assuming his 4-5-1 is going to come across as, I mean, is it the 4-3-3 as in the 4-2-3-1? Everybody's kind of just taking to calling that a 4-3-3 these days instead of a 4-2-3-1. But if it is a 4-2-3-1, is it just a deeper 4-5-1? It's hard to say, right? It's hard to say. Because one variation of the 4-5-1 is the 4-1-2-2-1, right? Where you have the V shape. Can't tell which one he necessarily prefers. And while he's okay here, he's not better than my assistant manager. Slightly lower, meaning he'd bring in slightly less quality. Wrong positions, but he'd have a few players that are professional, which would be excellent. He's got a good reputation. But again, his reputation is still nothing compared to all those Premier League or Championship sides that have 20s and their youth recruiting and junior coaching. We just don't compete. The club reputation, manager reputation, a head of youth development, or assistant manager reputation, either one, is going to be miles below. So I don't think, for me, reputation necessarily matters right now. It will matter. But we're going to have to move up quite a few divisions. We're going to have to develop our reputation a lot before we even get to that point where we are now going head-to-head with the others. So I think the best thing that I can do is have somebody who's Scottish English, somebody with the right personality, somebody with good ability and potential, right? The others aren't going to matter so much. But the right tactical style. So never mind the reputation. But at this point, if we go back to this, never mind the reputation. Take any. But I will pick 2. And you could already see nothing's showing up with 15s. 13s is the first place where we see something. Now this Matthew Richardson guy. Let's see, there's something decent in all 4 of these. We already looked at McClurg, right? McClurg. Okay, well, he's determined. English, but Route 1. How? Gegenpress, though he's on a 4-4-2. He is fairly determined. Oh, that might not be a bad thing. Joe Howe. No, thank you. He wants to be a head coach. A 4-3-3 narrow wouldn't be bad. And it's almost the right setup compared to us. Almost. Style's not great. He's got a little more on the ability. He's got good motivating. He's got good determination. His discipline's not great. His working with youngsters is horrendous. He is fairly professional. But he has 0 knowledge of England or Scotland. So he'd actually hurt us for a number of years before he was good enough. And we're going to move up divisions and be able to bring in better coaches soon. So that's a really bad choice. Oh, never mind. Hold on. If we go to head of youth development, he is good in England. And Gia. Sure. Yeah, no. One option, one only, or we stick with who we have. And I'm not sure we're getting any sort of upgrade here, right? Assistant manager now is a gegenpress guy. He's just the wrong formation. So that's a wash. They're both England. That's a wash. Fairly determined. There's a positive. Ability, potential, same. Is that correct? Where are you, Michael West? Oh, no. Ability is one better for West. But he's got that strong in the other categories. I think we're going to stick with Michael West for now. There's just no improvement there. In fact, I'd probably argue West is, when you add in the working with youngsters, determination, the discipline, the motivating, he's slightly better than Howe. So we stick with Michael West for now. Definitely keep him on staff. He's a good one for at least another season or 2 as we work our way up. And again, with the season just about ready to wrap up, we will do so in the next game. I'm going to go ahead and push things forward in between episodes here. We'll get another at least half dozen games out of the way until we get close to wrapping up the league. And then at the beginning of the next episode, in the early minutes, we'll finish off the season and then get into the off season. Looks like we're not in for any major changes to the squad, other than that I've got a little bit of work to do here to take some of those guys from the youth intake and reshuffle a few players from the U18s up into the U23s and take a look to see if there's one or maybe two players ready to step up and replace a few of the weak players that are in the senior squad. Again, there's just that few players. Really only two on the lack of potential side, and then there's 5 on the not so great in the current ability side. I'm Decathlon Gamer. Thanks for tuning in. Be sure to hit that like button, and I'll see you next time. Have a good one. Bye for now.